to have a conversation
All right.
about Netflix's Death Note.
All right.
All right. Now, first of all, I'm familiar with Death Note, the anime.
And I'm not.
You're not?
I'm
Okay.
not.
Herb?
I watched the Japanese live version movies.
Live. Okay, that's good. That's good. There were original live version movies released in Japan, and you can find them online here in the West, but they were not produced by Western studios. That's actually a very important distinction. I want you to chime in if you can.
Okay.
And Johnny, you were familiar with the manga, right?
No, not the manga. A little bit from the anime, only from what people have told me about. So I do know that it's about this student who gets a hold of this book, and that there's a bunch of rules. I don't know what the rules are, but there's a bunch of
the rules are you can't feed the Shinigami at midnight.
Yep.
You can't
No
get
water
them wet.
on them. Yeah.
Don't get them wet. Yep. And then
No, that's the Gremlins rule.
Yeah, I
Don't.
think so.
the basic premise is that whatever name he writes into this book, that particular person will die, and they can sort of dictate how they're going to die and control various aspects of their life.
That is correct. Now all the rules are meant to keep things within due bounds, and also allow the Shinigami to either pay attention and follow, the laws laid down by the actual writer in the Death Note, or to have fun and go completely bat stuff crazy. And I'll break it down for anyone who's not familiar with the concept here, because we're talking about Death Note, the live-action version, released recently on Netflix. It's available now. You can check it out. I believe it's free on Netflix as well. And it's
As long as you have a subscription.
well, I mean, that's how you watch Netflix.
Yeah.
All right. It's free as long as you have a subscription, yo.
It's
on
free as long
Netflix.
as you pay, right? Pay monthly.
All right. Calling out my ignorance. Thank you. The actual plot breakdown is a high school student discovers a supernatural notebook that has deadly powers. He can kill anyone he wishes simply by inscribing their name within its pages. Intoxicated with this new power, he begins to eliminate those he deems unworthy of life. That sounds very ominous, very badass, and in the anime it kind of is. It becomes more of a cat and mouse game, more of a cerebral thing, but at its crux, that is Death Note.
Yeah, it's pretty messed up
Really?
when you think about it.
Well, I think about cats I know. I wouldn't want any of those.
You got a
with
death.
The power to
You have
kill
a death
off anyone
list. Pat?
I don't have a death list.
I mean, but you have a few people. That come to mind. Like, okay,
I'm not
if you're-
admitting anything that's going to get some like government agencies knocking on my door.
Very
All
true.
right.
But can you acknowledge that, like, when you think of something like this, and instantly like two names pop up?
Oh yes.
All right.
I think
Cool.
more than two.
Yeah.
But they got juice.
Right.
I'm not messing with any.
Exactly.
And it definitely, so I think what you'd expect from that initial premise of being able to write and kill anyone that you want, what you expect for a story is a revenge story of being able to unleash your vindictive nature upon people that sort of crossed you.
Oh yeah, no, you pity
in
the
your
mother-
history.
Kind of like revealing this darker side of yourself, I think, is
But
Well,
the
if
movie,
you're doing it for justice,
but the movie, and I
Which no
think
one's ever doing
more
it for
so with
justice.
the anime itself and the manga,
justice can need a dude.
is that it goes way beyond that. It takes that initial idea of just getting vengeance and takes it way further into this level that is well thought out in the anime and manga, but within this movie, it turns into kind of a negative because it skips a lot of interesting things.
Oh, yeah,
It goes through a lot of story. It pretty much, I think it covers the entirety of the story, or at least that's what it felt like, because it covered so much territory storyline-wise, and it covered it within 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
This it's a 2 hour, actually it's a less than 2 hour movie that actually put really forces in the rise and fall of the relationship between Light and L, the investigator that's looking deeply into the case. Especially brought in, has a special set of skills, and believes he himself is the perpetrator. It's a really complex story that, if you watch the anime, and I can't speak for the manga, from the anime I watched it, and it had a lot of good, like, nuanced tension that really sucks you in. And in the movie, I'm sorry, it's not able to, not at all. And that's a problem, because it's not my favorite anime, but it's one that I definitely think is a good, solid suspense story. Like, I would hold this up with anything by, like, David Fincher,
Really?
Yeah, no, this was on point. as a story, the anime itself, and then this live action interpretation was, I mean, forgive me, it was just a bastardization of something that was solid and had a really interesting structure, and it felt like the cash grab that I'm sure it was.
Some things just don't translate that well. You know what I mean? Especially like you're going from one medium to the next. There's obviously some stuff lost in translation.
Yeah, and that's what it feels like. It feels like because there's so much things being covered in the anime and the manga, or the manga first and the anime or whatever. There's so much material there. It's kind of like how there's a Stephen King film that's made from what?
The Stand.
The Stand.
It's a 5-hour movie made off of a
8-hour. That is an 8-hour movie.
8 hour. Damn. Yeah. Okay, I saw the abridged version apparently.
Yeah, it's basically something like that, where you're taking like this big giant story and condensing it into 2 hours, or in this case, I think it was only like an hour and 40 minutes. Maybe it was a little bit longer than that.
It
went by pretty quick.
It would, dude. Why? They could have. It's Netflix. Extended at the very least. You know, do a multi-episode.
Could have made a 8-episode run of it. You know what I mean?
That would have been great.
Right.
Yeah.
It definitely would have been better in a TV series like format than it would have.
That you can just chew down in like a day.
Yeah. I will call out the acting of. Not the main kid. Now screw him. The acting of Keith Stansfield. Keith Stanfield, you probably don't know him. He's done a couple of shows, but he's never really like the top guy. And this is kind of messed up, but the biggest he played L, by the way. He played L, and I thought he did a pretty good job.
Oh yeah.
But
really
I guess the biggest claim to fame right now is, I mean, everyone will know his face even if you don't know his name, but not really anything else he's done performance-wise unless you pay attention to the shows. Is do you remember in Get Out? There's one pivotal scene, but also one of the most prominent scenes from the commercials, where you see the guy with the straw hat and his nose starts bleeding. He's like, "Get out! Get out!"
Oh, no way.
He grabs him. That dude. That's Keith Stansfield. He's a good actor. He's done some good stuff, but that's like the main thing you'll recognize him from.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
not sure.
he's kind of up and coming. He did Short Term 12 was a movie he did that he was great in as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he's definitely on the up.
Yep, the cat's on point. He had an interesting portrayal of L. It wasn't exact to the anime. Maybe it was more like the manga version, but his version of L seemed more like a, I guess, autistic that's obsessed with serving justice.
And candy. Lots of candy.
And candy.
It is a very interesting. So coming from not knowing anything about the anime or the manga itself, and then seeing that character, that was an interesting character. Just in hearing within the movie the very, I think it was like only like a couple lines worth of backstory for that character, and then seeing his intro and seeing how he's always popping some sort of like gummy bear or whatever candy he has. He always has candy with him for some reason. And just all of those things, and how he had the hood on and the mask on at all times. And it was just
I mean, if you write him in the death book, you just go diabetes. Right? And then you're done.
Well, no, that's not that out of the ordinary. I mean, right in this room, y'all can't see it on camera on Twitch, but Herb over there is snacking on one of those giant Twizzlers. You know, the one that you kind of wrap around like a lasso.
3-pound gummy worms. You know?
Yeah, I mean, we've warned him about this several times, but dude, I mean, that's his thing. You know, he's also sitting there in a Cat in the Hat hat
Let
and a
me
Jason
live
mask.
my life.
I don't feel good anymore.
All right, well, we talked about the cape at least, man. Why you got to wear this, though? I'm hoping they're putting together a mental picture right now. I want to see fan art of DJ Herb over there. It's going to be whack.
I will say this, for someone who hasn't seen the prior stories and then seen this as a movie, I felt betrayed that it skipped through all of that content, but I understand why, because it seemed like they wanted to cover the main parts, or what they felt was the most important parts of a very big, very complex story that is Death Note, the manga and anime, or at least that's what it felt like to me. It felt like there's a lot there, but what I was given was probably trimming all the fat out and giving me the definitive, the most important parts of the story. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what it seemed like.
I think it is, but you can't really do that with a story of this type, because it's all about like the tension and building up and the suspense. This is a suspense laden story, and like at the forefront there should be a lot of like back and forth tension. L makes a move, and then Light makes a move, and then L makes another move, and Light makes another move. And in this one, the story was more about the psycho girlfriend. You know, that's one thing I got. Played by Jessica McLeod. Wait, no, not Jessica McLeod. God damn, is she the right one here? Doggone it. Well, okay, I had the wrong name here. But the girlfriend in this movie was nuts, and it became more about her and Light's relationship, and L took almost the back seat, which I guess would be an artistic choice by the director, but it seemed to do this movie a disservice because, first of all, I will say it looked great. I thought it would look like complete garbage, and besides Light's ridiculous like frosted hair, I actually thought they got the design like down, and especially when you see Ryuk, when you see the Shinigami, the death spirit, that effect was crazy, and it looked as close to a realistic interpretation of the anime design as you could get, and it was nuts, man. And then you hear that voice; it is voiced by Willem Dafoe, and you were like, that is as creepy as I would imagine Willem Dafoe looked if I'd never seen his face and only heard his voice. It was perfect. It was on point. The effects in this were awesome. It was dark, but it was tonally dark and visually dark, which was appropriate. You know, the anime has a lot of like daytime scenes, which I guess work for that format. But the darkness in this worked. It was more like more like Batman Begins, and every scene seemed to have like a hue over it, you know, which really worked.
Shot in a lens, you know what I mean? That kind of cast this, like Soderbergh does that a bunch, you know what I mean? He shoots in like blues and yellows a lot.
Yeah, I thought it worked.
So
for
it's
this.
either like bright and like kind of washed, or it's just like darker and you're like, you know, kind of brings you down.
Exactly. This was right on point with that. This was dark. A lot of scenes at night, a lot of scenes in like dark areas. Even when you first discover the Shinigami, when Light first discovers the Shinigami, which.
Well, you mentioned Fincher too, because Fincher shoots very dark as well.
Yes, Fincher does. The thing that first came to mind was the game. The game had that look where it's like, even if it's daytime, it's never really like that bright out. Everything just paints this picture of like the world is dark, you know. And this is like a dark story, and I got that from Death Note. This was a dark story. It was, it was shot beautifully. And the only things that bothered me were the choices they took in the character. Not the only thing. One of the main things, the major things that bothered me were the choices they took in the character interactions.
Well, it seems like indicative of Netflix in general. Like all the money in the world can just push something out there with a giant budget, but it's kind of hollow. You know what I mean? A little empty, a little bit rushed. You know what I mean? Like, wow, this is a really great idea. People are gonna love this, and they're kind of like hurrying it too much without giving it any soul.
Definitely.
So you know what I mean? It's definitely like beautiful to look at. You're like, wow, their head's in the right place, but it's just they don't have, you know, the right parts to make this thing work. And so I think Netflix is doing that a lot. I mean, I'm glad they're really, you know, taking the effort to make things people want to see, but I just wish they would put some more care into that.
I think so too.
It definitely was a bit rushed. I felt the CG work was a little underwhelming, and there wasn't a whole lot of CG that was in this, but what was there, I could see sort of the cracks between the seams.
Well, that's the thing I have to disagree with you on. That goes into the look I was talking about, the effects. Because the only CG I remember seeing, and I may be wrong on this, maybe I'm misremembering, was the scenes with Light and the Shinigami. Besides that, I don't recall seeing that much work outside of that. So it was just the animation of that character. I think you got a look of another Shinigami as well. In this world, there are several Death Notes, and there are several different Shinigami that go with them.
But not in the movie.
Not in the movie.
Not in the movie. There's only one, and there's only one Death Note.
And I thought we got a hint of a second one.
I didn't see anything in there of a second one. I was expecting it because I knew that there were more than one.
Yeah.
And I was trying to look out for it, but
with the way this movie tried to force them all in, maybe I just...
It was just one, but some of the CG work I was talking about was like the gore effects, like when the first major death.
Why is it so bloody, dude? Why is it so? It's bloody. Like, it's raw, Herb.
And it's
not to kill her. You've seen the anime and
I've seen the Japanese live version.
Okay, were they like gory for no reason?
No, it was more of a psychological thriller than a gore movie.
Okay, that's perfect. That's how it should be, according from what I know of this story in other formats. This was raw.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking Saving Private Ryan levels of like blood
really?
for no reason whatsoever.
The very first.
Why
kill.
is he bleeding? He's just talking. Yeah.
The very first kill, this guy's head goes
like a watermelon being shot with a shotgun.
It's like
someone took some footage of a Gallagher concert.
It's like Rambo versus First Blood.
Rambo.
So like First Blood is like a gritty kind of action movie.
That's an old ass reference, but that's actually perfect.
And then Rambo, when he kind of revamped it, and you're like, why is he just blowing people's head off for no reason? You're like, there's so much blood and arrows.
It was a trauma film.
Yes.
It was.
I was just thinking of the
like
Toxic Avenger
jump
with
out.
the car running over the head.
Yeah.
Right? That same effect. It looked just like that, except it was CG, and it looked like a cheap CG.
Lloyd Kaufman just jumps out and goes. Be so good.
Okay, you know what? That right there, maybe I was too like weirded out. Maybe I turned my head or whatnot, because I remember it got raw, and I didn't pay too much attention to those because it was just too much for me. After the first one, I was just like, okay, fine, it's gonna be that kind of movie. Let me just power through this. It was unnecessary and it was excessive. I'm not complaining. I'm not one of those.
I like some gore when it serves a story. You're right, but when it gets like egregiously like over the top, you're like, what the?
Yeah, man, I'm saying it's just like I want to see a good movie, and I'm going in knowing Death Note. Even if I knew nothing about this movie, that would throw me completely for a loop because it starts off as a story of teenagers interacting. This dude steps in front of a bully and tries to help out a girl, and then she's like a complete B to him, and then it's like, okay, I see the dynamic going on here. And then like people getting rims lipped off and heads blown up and stuff. I'm pick your direction and go with it, man.
I'm trying to remember the movie I watched once where it started out all right, and there's this girl on this boat, and then all of a sudden it's either her, she has somebody swallow this fishing line with fish hooks and then like rips it out.
What?
Yeah, it's pretty gory. And it was just like all of a sudden you're like, what the hell am I watching? Yeah.
I want to watch that.
Yeah,
okay. I think we
I'm gonna find that. I'm gonna find that.
Okay, maybe not Blue Lagoon. Return to Blue Lagoon?
Maybe.
I remember there was a girl on the boat. That's as far as I got.
Who slept with her brother? I don't even really know what's going on.
Wait, was he a brother?
Wasn't he?
Damn,
will you look up if on Blue Lagoon if she slept with her brother? I think that was her brother.
This is not the way I wanted the Death Note review.
How did Blue Lagoon
he brought it up?
He said there was a girl in a boat. That's the most I remember. There was like a pregnant 12-year-old.
Brooke Shields sleeps with her brother. That's all I know.
Well, there was also Return of the Blue Lagoon with Mila Jovovich. That's where I discovered her.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's how you discover.
Was there more pre-legal...
Prenatal sex? No, there wasn't. I'm sorry, Johnny. I know you're looking for that, but no, that's not the way it
like that early. Yeah.
All right. Well, anyways, when it comes down to Death Note, I was really hoping not to sit here and kind of like bag on this movie the whole time. There's not a lot to save it. I thought it looked really good. I did like Keith Stanfield's performance. Willem Dafoe as the voice was solid. I mean, I don't want to say, well, it was Willem Dafoe. We expected as much and stuff, but we kind of did, and he delivered. He had the perfect voice for being as creepy as a Shinigami should be. And if I didn't know what Willem Dafoe looked like, which is a whole different level of creepy, I would think, wow, that's spot on. They must have got this nice deformed man to do the
Willem Dafoe is so good.
Yeah, there's a bit of his face on that.
There was, and that's sad because they weren't.
It's mostly cheekbones.
It was unintentional. Willem Dafoe played Ryuk. I'm trying to see. I really want to know the girl's name because it was all about her for a long stretch of this movie, and at the end, it tried to ham-fist in a few of the Twilight Zone-esque twists that existed in the anime, which I thought were really good in the anime.
It's like, let's just stuff this in at the end.
Yeah,
maybe nobody will notice.
It was too perfect.
It was it sort of tied itself together very neatly. What they needed to do with this was they needed to show the impact and the weight of these players, right? This cat and mouse thing that the middle of the movie is all about, and sort of show why they're making these bigger, convoluted decisions, these weighted decisions, like show the influence, right? The response to someone calling someone else out, right? When L goes on in front of the press, right?
Yeah.
So something like that. He does something, and it didn't really show how important that was and why they had to make the response that they did.
Well, that I think is a symptom of trying to cram such a huge story into such a short amount of time.
Well, it's
They-
just,
they
it's
should've
been
given more time.
translated so many times. It's like you're bound, like I said, you're bound to lose stuff. It's just like, what
Yeah,
story
true.
do you pick? What
Manga,
through line do you
Anime,
choose?
original Japanese live action.
Yeah, and it's the thing, when it's been
Grudge
translated that many times, like there's so many fans that like this for so many different reasons.
Mm.
You're gonna end up picking something when you translate it again that a bunch of people who originally liked it for something it's not gonna get there.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So people are gonna be like, well, I don't really care about that part of the story. You know what I mean? And abandon it. So I don't know.
well, there's not much to say about this. I mean, besides what we've said, I think what it comes down to is I can't recommend this. I was kind of hoping to. I really hate when these projects are announced and they immediately get negative press because I'm like, what if it's good? You know, we have been surprised before. No one had any hopes for the Christopher Nolan Batman movies after George Clooney, after the Joel Schumacher
man.
debacle, Batman and Robin. And then this
I don't
dude
know.
came
When I
and
first saw
made some of
those,
the best movies of
when I first
all
saw
time, in my opinion.
those trailers for Batman Begins, I was like, this is exactly what I want Batman to be. He
Well,
was
yeah,
like walking across ice all shabbled out and he's going to a train. I'm like, that's exactly how I
When we
want
saw
Batman.
the trailers, though, think about when it was just announced
Oh my
and there was
God,
that
you're
one
right.
image of Christian Bale in the Batman suit and the hood and the cowl that looked like it didn't really fit.
Yeah, and he was
Exactly,
just
you know?
he just came from making The Machinist, like when he
Yeah.
was like 98 pounds.
You
They're like,
know,
what
that
is
suit
this
was
guy doing in
padded
this?
like you wouldn't believe.
And trust me, like they gave so much grief to casting Heath Ledger in the second one. They're like, he
Yeah.
can't do it. He's gonna
Oh,
be
yeah, I remember
terrible.
that.
You
I'm
know what I
afraid
mean?
to say I was kind of on point with that. I did
Everybody
have high
was,
hopes
and,
for it.
and rightfully so. Then you're like, well, I'm stupid. I don't know about casting at all.
That dude from A Knight's Tale? Nah.
Yeah.
Or that dude from that 10 Things damn it, what was it?
Ev-
10 Simple Rules for Dating My Daughter?
Yeah, every once in a while, everyone needs to check themselves. You're like, well, there's a reason I'm not in that profession. Like, I just don't know what
Wait,
I'm
now,
talking about.
I've got
You
a master's
have
in
to
film.
do that.
You know how much that hurts?
Yeah,
that hurts
it's
for you to
so
say?
true, though. I mean,
Damn,
Nolan
cutting deep.
Nolan said that about Dunkirk too when they cast Harry Styles. He's like, well, I cast Heath
Okay,
Ledger
no,
as the
good
Joker.
point.
He's like,
Very good
I
point,
know
very
what
good
I'm doing. Is basically what he was saying. He's like, you don't, I do. Just shut up. It was the nicest way to say shut the hell up.
Adam Willis pulling up punches.
That's true. That's what he was doing, right? It has to be that way.
I'm agreeing with you. It just
We can
hurts
still
it just
bicker
hurts
about stuff, and that's important to it as well.
All
But
right,
every once in a
well-
while, we just need to acknowledge that we're wrong.
Wanda Sykes was still the best cast for Wu-Tang. I don't care what you say.
Yes, that will never not be true in this room.
All right. Well, the movie is Death Note. It's available now on Netflix. Death Note. You want to find the Western version, the American versions, the 2017 versions, basically. And I can't recommend this, dude. This is just a thumbs down, and it hurts to do so. But
Yeah,
sadly,
there's always reruns of Friends on Netflix, right?
Oh.
If you have to say it if you don't like this.
So I'm guessing the reaction's the same from both of y'all.
Yeah, kind of.
For Death Note?
Yeah.
I actually recommend it to
Really?
people who have never seen Death Note. Give this one a go. It's not. Don't expect anything great. It's all right, and it might turn you on to a more interesting story, which is Death Note, the anime or manga.
Oh, snap.
Nice.
Okay, all right. No, good
Yeah,
approach.
I guess if this is an introduction to Death Note, sure. If it piques your interest to go further, right? That can't be a bad thing.
No, not at all.
Sure.
Experiment. Do
I
what
got
you
you.
want. It's college. Live it up. All right. So if you heard anything in that you want to chime in on, hit us up.
Consent, people.
geekdownradio@gmail.com. Also hit us up. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Shoot us a message later. Let us know what's going down. But dude, Johnny.